everybody, welcome to Morning Glory Farmstead. My name is Lolly and this channel is all about gardening, animals, and nature. This is about how to get the most out of your growing season in general and also your green stalk. But before I jump into it, a few housekeeping items. Just a reminder, I am not an affiliate of GREENSTALK. However, they have given me a link for you to get $10 off your first purchase, so check that out in the description box. Also, in my last video, I let y'all know that I'm not much of a social media guru, but I just started a Facebook group called Morning Glory Farmstead Community Garden. So I've put that link in the description box as well. I want to hear from you guys about your gardening endeavors, whether you're brand new or have years of experience, because this is a way that we can learn from each other. When you have access to a multitude of people, you can increase your skills and knowledge exponentially. This is a virtual community garden opportunity, and the purpose of the group is in my last video, and I also typed it out in the description on Facebook. All right, so first, there's 3 things that are very helpful to know regardless of the type of garden before you start strategizing or deciding what to grow. And I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to show you how to find that information if you don't already have it. Number 1, you want to know your last spring frost date. So when is it likely to be the last frost before things start to warm up? You don't want to plant things too prematurely. Number 2, when is your first fall frost date? When are things going to start to get cooler? Because you don't want to plant things too late in the season that won't have enough time to get to maturity or that will die because they can't withstand the cold. A point to keep in mind is that these dates are based on the frost date averages, and the probability of a freeze happening after the last spring frost date or before that first fall frost date is 30%. So the numbers are not totally accurate, and I did experience a frost this past winter that was almost 2 weeks early. It just gives you an idea. And we know that climate patterns are shifting, and so we just need to be more mindful of the weather and have a plan in place ahead of time to protect our plants. Number 3, you want to know how long your specific growing season is. There are some places that have much longer growing seasons than other areas. Mine is 209 days, whereas I saw somewhere in South Carolina was 260, and somewhere in Idaho was 166. And those are significant differences and why planning is so important. There are many things that you can't grow during the cold months. Hey, y'all leave a comment below. Let us know how long your growing season is. I am fascinated by how different they can be. All right, let me show you real quick how easy it is to find out this information, and the link is going to be in the description box, okay? So you can check it out later, because after I show you this, we're going to head into the GREENSTALK content. Now, I've actually looked up quite a few areas, but you can see here in the Farmer's Almanac, all you have to do is type in the zip code, and it brings up all 3 pieces of information super quick. I put in the zip code for Augusta, Georgia. It got a little blurry here, but I think you can get the idea. It's got your last spring frost, your first fall frost, and the length of your growing season. So you may be asking, why is this relevant to a green stalk? And the answer to that is that you have limited space in which to plant, and you have limits on time based on that growing season. So you've got to be strategic as far as the how and when of using your green stalk. Now, you may be able to extend your growing season if you have a greenhouse, which would be awesome. I'd love to have one, but I'm on a budget, so I don't have one yet. However, if y'all have seen my videos, I'm still growing kale, lettuce, bok choy, spinach, and some other greens in the middle of winter, and the majority even survived -10 wind chills with keeping a close eye on them, babying them, and keeping them covered. Now, if you are just experimenting, you may not be as focused on strategy, but if you want to produce the most food and get the most out of the growing season, the frost dates and the duration of the growing season matter. Now, in order for you to come up with a strategy on how to get the most out of your green stalk in a way that's tailored to your goals, keep in mind what we just talked about, but also some basic information about your green stalk. How many green stalks do you have? Is your green stalk a leaf planter with more shallow pockets, or is it the original planter with deeper pockets? Anything that can be grown in a leaf planter can be grown in the original, but the opposite is not true. There's things that you can grow in this original that cannot be grown in the leaf because the original has those deeper pockets. Remember to check out this booklet that came with your green stalk. It doesn't have every single food listed, but it sure gives you a good idea of what can be grown in the leaf and the original planters. Now, you also want to assess how many tiers and pockets you have to work with, so that you can choose what you plant wisely. You guys know some seeds will produce more bang for the buck, right? For instance, I threw a long noodle bean seed in and they were delicious. My absolute favorites now, but I only got 6 beans. It was just an experiment. So I'm gonna be planting more of those this time. My tomatoes did beautifully and kept coming. I got 2 gorgeous golden zucchinis, but I think there wasn't sufficient pollination and maybe some lack of nutrients. So that's all I got. Again, just experimenting, threw the seed in a pocket to see what would happen. This year, I'm gonna be more intentional about other amendments besides the worm castings that I used at the beginning of this past season. If you really like a certain type of lettuce or green, you may want to use more than one pocket. Greens do a fabulous job in the green stalk, but you can still only get so much out of one pocket. Okay, you've got to pick a few greens and then come back the next day for some more. And so having more than one pocket of the same thing is going to increase how much yield you have to eat. So be thinking about what you know you like and what you may just want to try out just to see if you like it. Now, before I get into a few strategy options, keep any vacation time in mind. Someone may have to water and harvest your food while you're gone, or maybe plan for a shorter growing season and harvest before your trip, or start growing your food a little bit later in the season after your trip. But either way, that could shorten your growing season just a little bit, so you need to plan. All right, there's lots of ways your garden could play out, but these are just a few strategies and ideas to get you thinking about what you want to do, and you may use one or a combination of these, depending on the length of your growing season and, like we said, how much space you have to plant. All right, number 1, you can do one and done. You can plant one round in all of your pockets and just let it ride, harvesting what you can, and start over the next season. Okay, you can plant a variety, maybe multiple pockets with the same foods that you know you'll love, so that you have plenty of those particular foods and just harvest them until they go to seed. Number 2, you can plant in succession so that you have new greens or veggies growing while others are being harvested. So plant seeds in some pockets and then add seeds to additional pockets 2 or 3 weeks later. This can work really well, especially if you have more than one green stalk. But if you only have one green stalk, just work with what you have. It's okay. Leave 2 or 3 pockets open to try this. If you love a certain type of lettuce or greens, you start some 3 weeks later. And that may extend how long they're available to eat, as long as they don't get scorched. Or if things got really hot and you weren't able to shade them or keep them from going to seed early, save the seeds if you want, but then pull those out of that pocket, add a little bit of an amendment, and grow some more. If you have time left in your grow season, you can grow to full maturity or even just harvest young as microgreens, because those are so delicious. Number 3, which is what I like to do, is plant things as early as I can in the growing season and keep them going as long as I can. But once those plants have finished producing or they've gone to seed, I look at how many days are left in the growing season and the first frost date. If I still have another 80 days left, then I amend that soil and plant a completely different set of foods that have like 50 to 60 days to maturity. And that gives me time to enjoy more variety, but still within that same growing season. Number 4, now this is just a strategy that I want you to keep in mind because of the limited space that you may have in your green stalk. If you have space, reserve a few pockets to plant for the fall, or just keep in mind that you may want to clean a few out and use them for the fall. And we can talk about that again later, but you don't necessarily have to totally close up shop just because it's getting cold, unless you live in extremely cold areas. I'm in North Carolina, we're heading into mid-January, and my green stalks are still producing. So just something to think about. You may be able to grow some things at the end of your summer and into that fall season. All All right, I hope this got you thinking about the possibilities and gave you some ideas on some directions that you can take with your green stock or even other types of gardens. You guys leave some comments below and let us know if you already have ideas about what you're going to be doing this spring. And don't forget to head out to Facebook and join the community garden, okay? I'll see you real soon in the next video. And until then, y'all have a great couple of days. Bye.